80% of people have that. It's huge. The common denominator of all of our issues comes back to one thing: I'm not enough. People think fame damages people. That's not true. Damaged people want to be famous because they think it will fix everything.
Tell yourself a better lie. Today's Power Play guest says that this is the secret to transforming your life.
The mind doesn't know, and it doesn't really care either what you tell it is true or false, good or bad, hurtful or helpful. It lets it all in. A lot of people wake up or go through life and go, I didn't get love and I didn't get attention.
When you encounter somebody who's confident, what are they telling themselves that is different?
The job of your mind is to make your thoughts real, and very quickly it stops being what you do, it becomes who you are. We don't understand how to run our mind, how to be the CEO of our mind.
Destructive behaviours. We're getting something out of that.
What's great about procrastinating is you can never fail. When you move the mind to a new dimension, it doesn't go back again. You could never know what your potential is because it expands as you move towards it.
What is the first step to transformation?
It sounds so simple because it is, but the simple things are often the most powerful.
Tell yourself a better lie. Today's Power Play guest says that this is the secret to transforming your life. I'm Sally Musa, and today we sit down with globally renowned therapist Marisa Peer, who for the last 30 years has worked with tens of thousands of people, from major celebrities to top CEOs, to rewrite the stories that they tell themselves to powerful effect. Whether it's living a more abundant life, healing from illness, or achieving their full potential, Marisa believes that we are capable of tremendous impact, one thought at a time. Welcome, Marisa. It's great to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me.
I've been waiting for this conversation for quite some time and have loved following your work. But that is the title of your 6th book, Tell Yourself a Better Lie. And I kind of think it could have been called Tell Yourself a Better Life, right? Why are lies the basis of our reality?
It didn't take me long to work out as a therapist that our clients or people's greatest pain comes from the lies they tell themselves. One thing to have a boss saying you're an idiot or an ex-partner saying you're stupid. And that hurts. You can go, well, my boss is difficult, my ex-husband is just, full of anger. But it's the lies you tell yourself that cause the greatest pain. Because if someone says something mean to me, I can go, oh, they're having a bad day. But if I say something mean to myself, my mind assumes whatever I tell myself must be true, and it goes in. So when you tell yourself lies, I'm an idiot, I've got rocks for brains, everything I touch falls apart, I can gain weight just looking at food. We say these crazy things, I'm starving, I could eat a horse, which clearly aren't true. But the mind doesn't know, and it doesn't really care either what you tell it is true or false, good or bad, hurtful or helpful. It lets it all in. So the lies we tell ourselves cause us the very most damage.
It's such an interesting thought, because when you kind of reframe it that way and you think about, okay, well, how do I talk to myself every single day? And you start to dissect those thoughts. We kind of take that, because oftentimes these are thoughts and stories that we have heard our entire lives. We take them as truth. And so how do we then kind of start to deconstruct that and go, hold on a minute, I have to rethink that and reframe it?
That's a very good thing. You just kind of monitor, so I might say I'm chronically stressed. And I think, is that really true? First of all, am I stressed, and is it chronic? Never put the word chronic. I'm chronically tired, got a chronic headache. Just notice how you're describing yourself. My kid is making me lose my mind. My kid is driving me crazy. Well, actually, they're not. They're age-appropriate kids that you wanted to have and probably spent all of your savings on IVF to get. So, this traffic is going to kill me. These emails make me want to die. This commute is going to be the death of me. I remember years ago standing in a store buying stuff for Christmas, and people were going, oh, this is hell. It's hell in here. It's like, having been to Zimbabwe, I can tell you hell is stores with no food. When you have money to buy groceries and people that you love that want to have dinner with you, that's very far from hell. But people say, it's hell in the store. It's hell on the freeway. It's hell commuting to work. Hell is not having a job or a car, being able to commute to work. So just nicely notice what you're saying and then stop and go, is that really true? Does it help me to say that? And then stop it. Just kind of change it. I'm not chronically tired. I am tired. I might even be dehydrated. I have got a challenging day ahead of me, but it's not killing me.
So interesting that you say that. It's really all about perspective, which kind of, makes me think about social media. We see the biggest celebrities, we see the biggest CEOs, business people. We think they have the most incredible lives. We think, I want that life. You are someone who works with a lot of these people. What are some of the biggest things that they struggle with that we might not realize?
Do you not think it's very hard to be in the press? I remember years ago, very long, seeing a picture of Madonna when she was pregnant, going, oh, look at Madonna. She's got on a leopard skin dress. How ridiculous. She can't even give that up. I thought, but imagine if she hadn't. They go, oh, look at Madonna. She's gone all frumpy now. Because whatever you do in the press, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. If you look lovely, oh, you're trying far too hard. And if you don't, well, you're not trying hard enough at all. It's very hard to stay relevant. And so I think it's very difficult because you're judged entirely really on what you look like. And that's very hard for women and men, but women especially. Someone said to me recently, well, what's it like getting older? I went, well, you know what? Better than an alternative, don't you think? I mean, my best friend in the world died 2 years ago. She never had the joy of getting, she'd have loved to get older. Every time I just think, oh, wow, I bet Helen would love to be here doing this. It was so sad. So when people say to me, oh, you're getting older, I go, yeah, I know. Lucky me. What a joy that is, even to get older, because it's not a joy that everyone has. Or people say to me, well, my kids are leaving home and this is so terrible. And I was like, well, you've done a great job. There are people who have children who never leave home because of illnesses. The fact that your kid is leaving means you've done a fantastic job. You made them independent, they've got wings, and you should sit there and think, wow, this is great.
What about that whole idea of feeling like you're not good enough?
Oh, yeah.
Is that one of the most common things that you see?
80% of people have that. It's huge. The common denominator of all of our issues comes back to one thing. I'm not enough. And there's so many ways to not feel enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not interesting enough. I'm not educated enough. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not worthy enough. None of these are true, by the way, but we buy into that not enoughness. It's a kind of sickness, the not enoughness, and it's so common.
Where does that come from? Because if we watch little babies, they
never have that.
There is not a single baby that kind of goes and tries to get up and walk 150 times and then goes, look, I'm not good enough. I'm just going to sit down and not ever try to walk. They just keep going. Yeah. There's a fearlessness, which is why, when you're older and you have children or you see children, you feel alive. It's like this life force.
They're so in love with themselves.
Yes, and with life.
Yeah.
And they're so curious and so amazing. What happens along the way? It
comes from comparison. That's that expression, comparison is the thief of joy. So you'll see very quickly people who say, well, your sister could read when she was 3. Your brother didn't get food all over the floor. Oh, your niece, she's an A student. And then, of course, you go to school, and schools have streaming, which I think is a terrible, terrible thing. And they stream kids. These are the A students, these are the Bs, and these ones are the Cs or the Ds. And the minute you compare yourself to anyone, and then of course we have magazines and now we have websites. You can go and be graded. What am I? Am I graded like an egg? So it's all comes back to, are you being compared to someone badly? And the answer is, you bet you are, all the time.
If we're being compared like that all of the time, because I mean, this is the benchmark for success in life. Whether you're getting the grades at school, there's a whole checklist. You need to be getting the grades at school. You need to be smart enough. For girls, it's even worse because you need to be thin enough.
Oh, thin,
you need to be pretty enough.
Wearing designer clothes, perfect makeup.
So
it never ends.
How do we break that?
And then when you have children, it's like, well, my kid is out of diapers already. Oh, my kid could walk at 10 months. It never ends. And I remember one of my clients saying, I thought when I got old it would end, but now there's so many women of 80 looking amazing. Look at Martha Stewart and Jane Fonda. It never ends. And the media does this really badly. You know, I love the media for many reasons, but magazines and any media will compare you. They're always comparing you. So you have to just go, you know, well, yeah, that person's more attractive than me. That person's more successful. That person's thinner, younger, but they're not you. And you're unique, and you have to, you know, I work with so many children, so many kids who'll come in with all kinds of problems. I was working with a little boy recently who said, you know, I'm not good at English. I said, darling, you're really good at computers. That's your gift. Imagine if you were good at every single thing in the world. If we all were good at everything, we'd never go to a dry cleaner, we'd never get a decorator, we'd never go out to dinner because we'd be the best cooks. We'd do everything else. People would be out of business. That wouldn't be fair. You're supposed to be good at one thing, and your one thing is IT. Be good at IT. It doesn't matter if you can't speak French. It doesn't matter if you can't speak French. It doesn't matter if you're not good at maths. It matters that your gift, and that's what you do when you start saying, this is your gift. You know, my daughter's gift is to be an amazing artist. She's never going to be a therapist. My gift is to be a therapist. I'm never going to be fantastic at gardening. I have one gift, and you only need one. And in life, you're supposed to find your gift, be amazing at your gift, and then take your gift to market. But imagine if you're trying to be amazing at everything. And schools should really go back and say, look, this is your gift, and that's all you have to do in life. It is your gift. You know, Beyonce doesn't need to do anything else. Frank Sinatra doesn't need to do anything else. Ed Sheeran doesn't need to do anything except be a singer. And if we could go back and say, look, let's find your gift, and then find your gift, and then learn the art of perfecting your gift, and then learn to take your gift out to the world, we'd all be so much happier.
You know, it's so interesting because this all kind of links back to confidence. And it's like, you know, when you encounter somebody who's confident, it's a whole different feeling. There's an instant attraction to that person because, you know who they are, they're confident about who they are, they don't have that feeling of not being good enough. In fact, if somebody says no to them, they're like, great, well, I'll show you.
Yeah,
they take it as a challenge.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, no, fine, then game on. I'm gonna do something that's gonna prove that person wrong. They're not looking for validation from everybody on the outside. What are they telling themselves that is different?
Well, that's the thing, you know, you have to learn very quickly to validate yourself. You know, I have a program called RTT. It's a very powerful method of therapy, and it's got all these different modules, and one of them is the praise you never got. It's like a lot of people wake up or go through life and go, you know, I didn't get love and I didn't get attention and my needs weren't met. So now I'm going to find someone out there and it's going to be their job. And actually, no, it's your job. It's your job to go, hey, what did I never hear? Did my parents never tell me I was smart or capable, or it was the joy of their life to parent me? Often the answer is no, but you can start to say, hey, I'm smart, I'm capable. Problem is, when you give that job to someone else, you're forever needy. And when you can go, you know what? It's my job to tell myself the things I want to hear. I'm smart, I matter. You know, I know it works because we've got our program in thousands of schools, and every day these kids say the same thing. I'm smart, I matter, I'm significant, I'm enough, I'm lovable, I'm talented, just the way I am. And just those 6 phrases in all the schools we put them in have stopped bullying, have raised the kids' self-esteem. And if you raise a child's self-esteem, academically they do so much better, but they also don't bully, don't self-harm, they just cope better. So we're all born with exactly the same needs, and they're very simple needs. A baby needs to feel loved, connected, significant, and safe. That's it. And as that baby gets a bit older, they have the same needs forever. I mean, I still need to feel loved, connected, significant, and safe, but we have a couple more. I need to be seen and heard. I need to be celebrated. I need one person to be proud of me. So we've got 7 needs. What do? You meet them yourself. Well, how does that work? Well, you start to say, I'm significant, I matter, I'm a good person, I've got something to offer the world. And seen and heard, you sort of go, well, I'm deserving of it. I can celebrate myself, and I'm deeply proud of myself. You might think, well, that's not enough. But if you start to do that, the whole world will begin to join you at that level. When you begin to feel you're worthy, people pick up that feeling of worthiness and meet you at it. So rather than go, oh, I got these needs, who out there is going to meet them? Just take some time to go, I'm significant, I matter, I am lovable, I am worthy of love, deserving of love, I'm proud of myself, and I can celebrate myself, because it doesn't mean you're going to be in the world alone. It means as you elevate your level of self-worth, the world will join you at that elevated level. Sadly, if you diminish it, the world joins you at the diminished level. So elevate it all. It's much easier than it sounds, and it works.
Is this the same as affirmations? Because I feel like sometimes we say things, but we don't really believe it. Is it about continuing to say that thing over and over again? Because the thing is, I think if you've been told something early enough in your life and it's hurt you enough, it becomes part of your identity and it becomes something that's difficult to break.
Yeah. So affirmations, affirmations can be great, but there's an affirmation I've heard a lot every day in everywhere. I'm getting better and better. At what? Skiving off work, gaining weight, lifting groceries. You've got to be very specific with the mind. What are you getting better and better at? Avoiding people, staying at home, binging on potato chips. So unless your affirmation is clear, relevant, and makes a picture, it isn't an affirmation. So I call affirmations statements of truth. So ask yourself a question. Does my mind know? And imagine your affirmations, I want attention. And now you've got explosive gas. You're going to get lots of attention. That isn't what you wanted. I want attention. I've got these terrible headaches and everyone's worried about me. And I see a lot of children who are unconscious, I want attention. And lo and behold, they have skin flare-ups or stomach problems because the mind, this is the genie. Your wish is its commands. If this was like a little genie's lamp and I wrote, hey, genie, give me attention. The genie doesn't go, okay, what's the best? It goes, okay, let me give you, make me sick. Let me give you an illness. Let me give you a panic attack. Let me make you a difficult kid. Now you're getting so much attention, but you got to go, hey, genie. So I work with a lot of children, and I literally have the lamp. I go, come and rub the lamp and ask the genie a question. I go, genie, I don't want to fail my maths exam. Genie, I don't want to have no friends at lunch. I go, you see the genie, how can he make you not fail your maths exam? He can make you sick. And now you can't go to school and you can't fail. So you've got to be very specific. Hey, genie, I want to be so good at maths, to be really gifted at maths. Hey, genie, I want to be so magnetically friendly that I always have someone to have lunch with. So we waste a lot of time making the wrong wishes. I don't want to fail. I don't want to be rich. I don't want to be ghosted, rather than go, I want to be the kind of person who always has so many friends because I'm lovable and I like them and they like me. So that the big problem is that we don't understand how to run our mind, how to be the CEO of our mind. And if you want to run your mind, be very specific with what you tell it. I don't want to fail. I don't want to lose. I don't want to get this wrong. That's not going to help. You have to say, I can only succeed. So, many years ago, somebody came to me and gave me some money to write a book. And I was so concerned with, what if it's terrible? What if nobody buys it? That I actually gave the advance back. I was only 25, and I can see now that I wasn't ready. But some years later, somebody came and gave me much, much more money to write a book, and I was ready. And I knew that it was down to me. Writing a book is something, but you have to keep saying, this book is amazing. I can imagine people reading it at airports. I can visualize seeing it in that shop window, because you've got to move away from the fear of what if nobody likes it? Well, I've got an advance. Somebody must like it. I got a message. But it's that same thing about, what do I really, really want? Do I want to write a book? If you narrow your thoughts and imagine you're looking at a screen and saying, what do I want? Actually, no, it's not a book. I want to write a best-selling book that helps people. Now I'm clear. Now I understand what I want to do. And the more clear and the more my mind would help me. And I began at first thinking, it's so lonely writing a book. at the end, there was nowhere I'd rather be in the whole world than sitting at my desk writing that book, because I started to say it's so engrossing. It's so thrilling. It's so rewarding. It's like a biofeedback. What you present to your mind or present right back. So if you go on a date going, what if they don't like me? What if it doesn't, or what if I'm wrong? And what if they ghost me? You should be going, well, you know, what if I'm so amazing that they fall in love with my very soul? And this is going to be fun. I'm going to meet somebody. So we have to, you know, your mind can't go into two lanes. I want love, but I'm scared of rejection. I want to be healthy, but I couldn't live my life without take us. I want success, but what if I was always at work and then my kids suffered? So you've got to get your brain into one lane. And if you stay in one lane, you can't go in the other one. So being the CEO of yourself is really focus on what you desire. And tell your mind, this is what I want, this is what I require, and I'm worth it.
You know, it reminds me, we've just had the Olympics. You know, athletes talk about this kind of stuff all the time. Gabby Thomas was talking in an interview the other day. You know, she's an athletics Olympic champion from these Paris Olympics. And she said, I visualized myself completing the race and winning the race over and over all day long, and told myself I am the winner until she. So it's kind of like this strange thing, like as you say, you're kind of telling yourself a lie until it becomes a real. Is this
because the mind
fake it till you make it?
Yeah. Well, the way you feel about everything, and I do mean everything, comes down to only two things: the pictures you make in your head and the words you form. So an Olympic athlete will focus over and over again on winning. You know, we know that Roger Bannister saw himself running a mile in under 4 minutes, and that he was told it was impossible. The next year, 57 more people did that because he made something possible. Mark Spitz, when he swam at the Olympics in 1984 and got all those medals, you now can't get in the teams swimming at that speed, because when you move the mind to a new dimension, it doesn't go back again. You could never know what your potential is because it expands as you move towards it. But an Olympic athlete visualizes a lot, and they back that up with language. I'm winning. And of course, now you'll probably know that athletes who don't visualize won't make it, because the visualization is so powerful. After all, Muhammad Ali said, I am the greatest. I float like a butterfly and sting like me. He said, I said it before it was true, but I said it. In fact, he affirmed it, stated it, embodied it. And he said, and then it became true in everyone's eyes. And people thought he was undefeated, which wasn't true, but he said it. What a concept. I said it, and I said it, and it really wasn't true. But because I kept saying it, it became true. I'm the greatest. It's a great thing to teach our kids. Say, I'm gifted at IT. I'm really good at art. I'm a great person. I'm really good with my grandparents. I'm kind to my brothers. I'm good with animals. It doesn't matter what it is, but the fastest way to build your self-esteem is through praise. And self-praise will build it faster than the praise of someone else. Because needing someone else's praise, again, you're now needy. So when you say to someone, do you like me? Am I okay? Don't do that. Say, I like me, and I know I'm okay.
How do you, though, work with people who have long-standing destructive behaviors? Because there's a couple of things to this, that in terms of there are behaviors that have been with us our entire lives. And I guess the thing about, you know, a destructive behavior, the more I think about it, is that we're getting something out of that.
Of course. If you say to an alcoholic, hey, tell me what's great about drinking. I say to people, what's great about binging? What's great about it? They go, what? If you had to answer that question, they go, well, no one expects anything. No one rings me up and says, can you pick me up at the station at 1 o'clock in the morning because I drink? No one expects anything of me because I drink. So then we begin to see, oh, what's great about this? What's great about procrastinating is you can never fail. I coulda, woulda, shoulda, but you see I had the procrastination. What's great about self-sabotage? You can never fail. All of these, if there's a tree called I'm not enough, they're just branches of it. I'm not enough, so I procrastinate, so I self-sabotage, so I isolate myself because I'm scared of what I call the unspeakable truth. I might find out I'm not enough if I finish that project. I might find out if I get that job, they might realize, but if I never get it, I can go through life avoiding it. And so I have this thing called the presenting problem, but what lies beneath is that people often come in and go, hey, my problem is procrastination. But it really isn't. It's not feeling lovable. It's not feeling enough. And I worked with someone just this week who had all kinds of self-sabotaging behavior because she was so rejected by her parents. And so, you can make life very easy. I've been a therapist my entire adult life, and I realized after not very long that there's only really three things wrong with everybody. The biggest one is I'm not enough. That's huge. The second one is I'm different, so I can't connect. And the third one is I want something so much, but it's not available. So I've worked with thousands and thousands of addicts, every kind of addiction. And I've never found an addict ever who thought they're enough. I've worked with famous addicts and successful addicts, but who might be in AA, but they all have the same thing. But I'm not really enough. You love this voice, this body, this acting, this singing, but if you really knew me, you'd be disappointed. And so if you can look at those three things and work out which, could be all of them, are wrong with you, now you can fix yourself, because you can go, but that's not really true. Just because I think I'm not enough. We saw Matthew Perry died only last year, and you can see how much that man felt not good enough. And you can see it with Whitney Houston and Amy Winehouse and so many people who go to fame. People think fame damages people. That's not true. Damaged people want to be famous because they think it will fix everything. But it really doesn't. But if you can look at that and think, okay, well, look, if Marisa said it's only three things, it must be I'm not enough, I'm different, so I can't connect, or I believe what I want, I'm never going to have it. That might be love or freedom from depression or health or success. And then you can start to counter it by I am enough, just the way I am. Connection is available to me, what I want, and I'm not different. You see, our greatest fear is being different, so we can't connect. But if that's your greatest fear, then it must mean you're the same as everybody, because everybody more or less has that fear. I'm different. We used to live in tribes. We didn't have that fear. I'm different. I'm the only tall one, thin one, rich one, poor one. You see that in schools, how children feel so different because we bond by being the same. But then you can start to dismantle these beliefs because they're not true. And you said before, we have these things we've had all our life. I sabotage, I procrastinate, I act out, I get angry, I get super defensive. I was actually working with some children, and I put a massive triangle on the floor with masking tape and then 3 flip charts. And we said, okay, so we're going to have a thought, and then we're going to run to a feeling, then we're going to run to the behavior. So let's write down a negative thought. And they were very simple. I'm not smart. I don't have any friends. I think I'm ugly. Now run to the feeling, and the feelings would be, well, I feel sad, or I feel angry, or I feel helpless, I feel blocked, I feel annoyed. And then we'd run to behavior, and the behavior was I cry, I act out, and we just kept running thought, feeling, behavior, because thought always comes first. People think feelings come first. They do not. And behaviors don't come first. Thought comes first. And now it's because, okay, so now we've got it. It's thought, feeling, behavior, thought. Let's change, let's flip the thought. Let's write down, I'm really smart. I have so many friends. I think I'm the cutest person in the world. And the kid who'd written down, I'm not smart, ran to the thing, said, I feel really brave now. I feel good. Whenever he said, I asked the teacher to help me because I'm smart. So that was a whole flip. I can ask the teacher to help me because I'm smart. I can stay behind and say, can you explain that? And the kid who said, I have no friends, said, I feel confident. I ask people for sleepovers because everybody likes me. So it's like a ladder. It's a loop. Thought, feeling, behavior. And don't worry about changing the feeling or the behavior. Just change the thought, because thought changes everything. I am smart. I am worthy of love. I do matter. I'm significant. I've got something to offer the world. I'm a great person.
Is it something that we just have to keep on repeating until we believe it? Is it something that is rooted in action? Because I'm just thinking, for example, somebody who has, I'll talk about me, for example, as somebody who has struggled with their weight their entire life. For me, one of my earliest memories in childhood, I think I must have been 3 or 4 years old, and I don't know how I still remember it, but I still remember it. We were in Kuwait, And it must have been like, very early 80s. And that was the time around the world where you had fast food restaurants being introduced to the world, late 70s, early 80s. So it was a huge novelty and it was an amazing thing. And I remember, there was in that time, it was like a Kentucky Fried Chicken. And we would go and, we loved it. And we would go, my parents would drive us because there was no drive through, whatever. We'd pick up the food and we would drive home. And the smell just overwhelms you in the car. And I couldn't wait to get home. And so my mum would give me like a little piece of it until we got home, and we'd have the meal and we'd enjoy it as a family and whatever. And I was just like, this is a thing, like to this day, it is my only weakness.
KFC.
Yeah, and I remember that, like I just have this automatic reaction.
Yeah.
Right? It's a like I cannot explain it.
Sure.
It's the
but
only
you are
thing.
explaining it very well.
But, and it's just very, because I know now, I know where that comes from. I know, that it was that kind of an experience, us bonding as a family, at that time. And if you're an Arab, food is the center of everything. And it's not like you have a normal size meal. Arabs are very generous. We eat a lot. To be generous is to offer way more food than anyone could possibly eat. Coupled with moving to Australia, when I was like 7, 8, and, noticing that all of the other girls, the white girls, were so skinny. And I used to look at them and think, why don't I look like that? And why can I never look like that? To the point where, year 6, I remember, it was the school dance. It was like the year 6 leaving dance. And, I went with my mum and picked out a dress. And I was like, I barely fit into a size 14 UK at 11 years of age. And I found this perfect dress and I fit into the biggest size. And I was like, oh my God, if I put on just 1 more kilo, I won't fit into this dress. And I remember from that age just being absolutely terrified. I was teased and whatever, but that feeling really stayed with me. I wore that dress and I was so happy with it, but I was so aware. And I think that's when I started dieting at that age. And so, this is something that's carried through in life to the point where, I would just, eat a lot to try and hide myself, which is ironic because that was the last thing that was going to hide me. I just got bigger and bigger, and it's still something, even though I'd lost like about 30 kilos, it's still something that I struggle with. And I know that this is something that people struggle with a lot.
Yeah, I have a program called Dietless Life. I'll certainly give it to you. And that's really all about how overeating is emotional. No one says, hey, my life's amazing, I'm really happy, everything's good, I need pizza and ice cream. When you're a baby, and we've both had babies, and you hold and feed your baby, everything's right with the world. A baby doesn't just get food, they get love, connection, the needs we said, love, connection, significance, safe, your primal needs. Every time you hold your baby and feed it, they feel loved, connected, significant, and safe. And because the brain goes backwards, imagine a few years, 10 years later, 15, you're thinking, I'm having a bad day. Your brain goes, you know what? That milky, creamy stuff makes you feel loved, connected. And everyone says, hey, I'm having a bad day, I need lettuce. I'm having a terrible day, I need peas. I'm having a terrible day, I need ice cream, I need pizza. Because
exactly right.
That combination of half fat and half sugar, there's no food in the world that's half fat and half sugar except for breast milk. It's the only one. You can find fatty food like olives and fish, and you can find sweet food like mangoes, but not combined. And so the whole food company are always busy in this thing with a bliss point, half fat, half sugar, because people get it and the taste of it, they go, oh my God, that reminds me. They don't even know what reminds you of being nursed as a baby. And so if you look at Starbucks and ice cream and cereal and milk and cookies and even pizza and macaroni, cheese, they all have that bliss point of half fat, half sugar, taste receptors here go, oh, that makes me feel better because I'm having a bad day, but I'm eating pizza and it's making me feel better, because the brain is going backwards to what it remembers. And when you said, you always had a weight problem, that's actually not true, because as a baby you would have left food. You can't make a baby when they've had enough nursing, they just stop. When you're spooning in, they've had enough, they just stop. And if you keep going, they just spit it all out. So as a little baby, you were totally normal about leaving food. But of course, food became love, it became connection, it became excitement. And because I remember, getting a birthday, I remember I remember my grandmother baking, and for me, her food was love. I had an eating problem for years because my grandmother, who's the only person I felt loved me through food. You could never separate. She was like Pavlov's dog. You put the key in the door, out came the cake tin. It was like automatic. But you can break these connections by saying, I have an amazing body. My body doesn't really love cake. That's my mind. What does my body love? And whenever you're going to eat, what I do is I don't say, what do I want? I go, what does my body want? I want fries, but my body actually would prefer broccoli. So I often think a lot about the and I've forgotten what it's called now, microbiome, and how you need 30 different types of vegetables a week, which is a lot. So I'm thinking, I want that, but my body wants that. So if you're going to say, what does my body want? Your body is the most priceless, mind-boggling thing you'll ever own. It's amazing. And it's like, if you have a kid, you go, well, my kid wants chocolate, but they're not having it. They're having oats for breakfast. I was in a hotel here a little while ago, and I was amazed at all these children just having cakes for breakfast. So many cakes. It's like, wow. And no one said, darling, you can have a bit of fruit and yogurt, and then you can have a piece of cake. They all just had cake because they wanted it, but their body didn't want it. So, with your babies, you'll think, well, I know they want, cake, but they're not having cake, they're having fish and chicken. So you've got to think of your body as a little baby. What does it need rather than what does it want? And if you can always eat from, I want that, but actually I need that. That's what I need. I mean, I could wake up and think, oh, I could have chocolate for breakfast, but I know that I'll pay a price. So I tend to give my body what it needs and what I want. The lovely thing about eating is that what you eat all the time you like. If you eat fruit and salad, you'll find that you actually crave fruit and salad. If you drink Coca-Cola, you'll crave it because what you give the body is what it asks for. So make some little shifts. But remember, you're not that kid. When you're a baby, if you fell off the swing and your mother gave you an ice cream, it would change. Everything is okay. If your friend called and said, hey, my husband's leaving me, you're going to go, you know what, I'm going to come around with ice cream, and that would make everything fine. Because life is simple as a child. So a trip to KFC, but if your friend called and said, hey, I've lost my business, you wouldn't go, well, we're going to KFC, and that's going to fix everything. So the child's mind is very simple. They're easily satisfied, which is why we give them cakes and cookies and then wonder why 20 years later they still have a thing with cakes and cookies. The mind always goes backwards to what something means. But you can redefine what it means. Oh, when I was 8, that was amazing. But today what's amazing is being healthy, loving my body, wearing the things I want to wear. So once you can negotiate with the brain, it really understands.
It feels like a long process.
Oh no, it's really easy.
Why do you say it's really easy and really fast, and why hypnotherapy?
So imagine you woke up and said, I'm enough, I'm enough, I'm enough. At first your brain goes, well, you're not really enough, because look, you're living in this tiny apartment, you haven't got a great car. But if you keep saying it, you'll realize that the objections are your objections. No one else is saying that. And the mind learns by repetition. Repetition is the mother of all skills. So if you repeat something, it only takes maybe 21 days, maybe 30, but not much for the brain to let in a new belief. And as the brain lets in a new belief, it has to let out an old belief. So if you said, I'm sick every day, of course, your brain's going to have to make that real. The job of your mind is to make your thoughts real. If I think a sad thought, my eyes will fill up with tears. Think an embarrassment, I'll go bright red. Think of food, my stomach will rumble. Because we know that when we think a thought, the body makes it. So you're thinking a thought, I'm always sick, and then you're going to be sick. But if you say, I'm super healthy for 21 days, you will come up, well, that's not really true, and last week I had a cold. But if you keep saying it, the mind very quickly goes, oh, you say this every day, it must be true, and now it will sink in. And very quickly it stops being what you do, it becomes who you are. So if you look at people who've got it together, you'll notice they say, oh, I'm really good at that. Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? I did that. Isn't it great? Or they say, I like your dress. I know, I love it too. It's my favorite color. And it suits me, doesn't it? They're not arrogant. They've learned to dialogue in a better way. So it sounds difficult, But here's the thing, you talk to yourself every day, don't you? So all you're doing is what you already do, but better. We all wake up and go, oh, look at the state of me. Oh, I haven't finished that. I haven't left enough time and I'm an idiot. You're doing what you already do, talking to yourself. It's not new. It's not hard. You're just improving it massively until it stops being what you do and becomes who you are. And then it's easy.
What are the most powerful examples? I mean, you've worked with so many people. What are some of the most powerful stories that really touched you, where this has been a breakthrough, a huge moment for someone?
So something for me personally, when I had all my friends and I had children at the same time, and I noticed my friends going, oh, your daughter's really bad. I'm like, she's not bad. She's an age-appropriate kid. They go, yeah, but, you know, we were running on the beach and my friend's daughter, she'd go, stop, and she would stop. My daughter would keep going and have to stay stopped 3 times. She goes, why is she so naughty? I said, no, she's not naughty. She's like a little horse, a little dog. She hasn't she's having fun. So she will stop after the 3rd stop. This is called age-appropriate behaviour. And if all parents could say, oh, this is age-appropriate, they pick stuff up and spill it. They don't understand if they look at mummy's nail, I'm just going to go all over the carpet. They don't understand if they leave the fridge open, everything's going to spoil. Or they pick the cat up and they're hurting it. So for me, just saying this is age-appropriate really helped me, because I'd say the classic things, oh, my kid's driving me crazy, my kid's... I thought, ow, she's really not. I could never have a baby. You know, I remember when I had my baby, I was in hospital, I just had her, and I could never have a baby. So for me, it was like amazing. And the nurse came and she literally gave me a box of Kleenex and said, that's for postnatal depression. Usually arrives on day 3. I'm like, postnatal depression? I'm not having that. I said, oh, I'm having postnatal euphoria. I've already signed up for it. And I can see, oh, it's one of those crazy mothers in here. I said, I'm not having postnatal depression. Why are you telling me to expect it? She said, well, you know, she tried to explain how the hormones, and she was actually programming me to get postnatal depression.
She was preempting you.
Yeah, she went in a very nice way. I said, I'm having postnatal euphoria. I'm not having that. And I went home and I had postnatal euphoria. It was wonderful. But I know people said, oh, aren't you exhausted? And you can't even go to the toilet with a baby. It's like, of course you can. And, you know, they tell you this. And my daughter just had a baby. And I said, darling, don't listen to any of that stuff. This is going to be the best thing you've ever done. You will never know love like it. And people say, oh, it's, you know, you can't have a shower. It's like, babies sleep all the time. And why don't you sleep when they sleep? But, you know, we hear all this stuff about, oh, you know, and then you get older. And because you can't find a man over 40. It's like, where are you looking? Oh, you're more likely to get run over by a bus than find love at 50. That's not true. None of that is true. So here's the thing. And I got married at 52. And I've had a marvelous marriage. People said, that's almost impossible. If you read magazines, they'll tell you this stuff, you know, not going to get pregnant after 35, when in fact your fertility ends much closer to 50 than 35. Sure, it's less. Can't find love. When I was getting married, my wedding designer said that they've got a huge thing of women in their 50s getting married for the first time. Or, you know, you're always going to get fat once you get past 35, or you can never be successful if you haven't been to university. That's not, money comes from money. All of the things we've heard, none of them are true. So question it, and then you don't believe it.
It's interesting because you've had cancer twice.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that? How did you frame it? How were you able to heal yourself? Is that something that you were able to do?
You know, having someone tell you have cancer is pretty horrible. You know, I didn't know I had cancer. I felt incredibly well. I had no symptoms at all. So when I was sure that she was wrong. And so I said, and I kept saying to her, are you sure? She said, oh, no, it's absolutely true. So obviously for the first 2 days, I remember that in my husband and I in bed holding hands. It was horrible. It was scary. It's like, oh my God, I have cancer. But then I was driving up to Yorkshire to stay with my lovely friend because she was going to comfort me. And I was reading a magazine called Icon. It's a great magazine. And it's explaining all the things you can do. I thought, oh, I can do that, and I can do that, and I can take that stuff. And I felt better. And then I began to think, well, actually, it's very lucky because I have womb cancer and I don't need a womb. I mean, I felt much luckier than having brain cancer or bone cancer because it was a disposable organ. And so then I thought, wow, what a stroke of luck that is, which probably sounds a bit sickening. But that's the thing about when you do that, when you start to present better stuff to your mind, it presents better stuff back. And I didn't need a womb, and I had it removed, and I felt like, oh, I had cancer, and now I don't. And I was very lucky. I had it all done within a month. I found I had it. It was removed like 2 weeks later, and then they said, oh, and then I went back for tests, and they said, yeah, it's all fine. And so it was a shock when 2 years later I got it again, because I have something called Lynch syndrome, which means your body, because we said to me, how do you get cancer? People were a bit weird. They go, I thought you were a positive person, like it was my fault. And people would write to me and go, oh, I thought you were so positive. I'm really shocked and disappointed. And there was this sense of shame. It's like, wow. But Lynch syndrome just means that your body doesn't know you have cancer and can't recognize it. So I had it again. And that was more scary, of course. It's like, oh my God. But I remember thinking, no, I can fight this. The mind is very good at doing what you tell it. So I started to say my body is a wellness-making machine. My body does wellness, always wellness. And I began to tell my body, look, you know how to fix cancer. Your body can do its own chemotherapy, its own immunotherapy. And so the same thing, I bounced back from that. And it didn't take long at all, because I kept saying, I'm doing wellness. I'm doing wellness. I never had to have chemo or radio or anything like that. I was very lucky, because each time I had it at stage 1. And then again, I was monitored, and that was in 2017. And after 5 years, it's like you never had it. So that was good. But you have to, I could easily go into that, oh my God, is it going to come back? And I should be monitored. But I thought, I've had it twice. That statistically, that's enough for anybody. And I just live my life without thinking about it.
It's so interesting, because I remember years ago I interviewed a doctor, and he was talking about things like terminal illness like cancer. And he said, you should never tell anybody how long they have to live, because he said you can speak life into someone, or you can speak death.
Yeah, of course.
How true is that?
Yeah. Oh, it's so true. There's various countries now where you're not even allowed to do that. You're not allowed to say, well, you have 10 months, because people start to go, oh, 10 months. And one of the rules of your mind, my new book is called Rules of Your Mind, but one of the rules of the mind is what is expected almost always tends to be realized. So expecting to be sick, expecting to die, expecting to be ill is a terrible thing. I think every third person now gets cancer, and cancer treatment is much better, but you have a cancer that's totally survivable. Then you have ones that are containable, then you have ones that are not. I was very lucky, I got the 2 survivable ones. But your mindset is everything. 80% of what we have comes down to the mindset. People say to me, oh, you a cancer survivor? I say, no, because I don't have it. I had it, and now I don't have it. And I think in illness, in life, you've got to be very aware of what you're presenting to your mind. I'm sick. I've been cursed with this thing, and now I'm going to have this thing called scanxiety all the time, and I'm always going to live in fear. Or, well, I had it and it wasn't really that big a deal at all, and maybe I'll never have it again.
What's interesting is, when we talk about illness and how we get sick, emotions and feelings, particularly when we're talking about business, when we're talking about the workplace and leadership, we're told to leave emotions at the door. We're told don't feel them, especially if you're women, don't be emotional. If you're a man, be a man, right? But at the same time, we have these emotions, we don't know what to do with them, and they can end up making us incredibly ill. What is the best way to understand our emotions, first of all, and how do we process them? Not just process them, but use them to full effect. Use them to become more powerful?
Well, first of all, your feelings are the most real thing you will ever have. You're a feeling person. You can't say, oh, you don't feel that. It's like, how can you are your feelings. So that's the first thing. You are your feelings. And here's what you've got to do. You've got to feel your feelings until they no longer require to be felt. So you might say, I'm feeling really sad today because my dog died, or I'm feeling really sad, I just heard my ex-partner's got married again. And I go, I'm not going to feel that. You see, what we do is we try to eat our feelings, we try to drink our feelings, shop our feelings, medicate our feelings. What you need to do is think, I do feel sad that they've got married again, but hey, I'm going to get married again too. I do feel sad that my dog died, but look how much love he gave me, and I can give another dog love. So don't deny your feelings. That's what I call triple A. Triple A is, first of all, be aware of what you're feeling. We don't even know. We go, I'm feeling something. Where's the cake? Or where's the, I need to go on eBay and bid for something now. First thing is, what are you feeling? Actually, I'm feeling jealousy. I'm jealous of my sister. Well, that's okay. So now go to say, accept it. Oh, I got to accept it. Yeah, it's okay to be jealous or mad or upset or envious. And then articulate it. So aware, accept, articulate. You know, I was recently looking at someone, a woman called Dr. Julie. She's written to me. I thought, wow, her book's so much more successful than mine. And I thought, am I jealous? I thought, well, I'm envious. But so admit I'm envious, accept it, and then, you know, she deserves it. She's worked really hard on that book. She actually just recently got breast cancer. I was just reading that. And her books help people. So, you know, you can say, oh God, sometimes I wish I'd never had a child. Oh, well, that feels awful. No, be aware of it. I'm thinking today, why did I even do that? I'm totally, and then I'm going to say it. I have moments when I think, oh, I shouldn't have had children. But then it will pass, because the feelings are like kids going, hey, notice me. And if you try to ignore them, they regroup stronger than if you say today, I'm actually feeling jealous of my sister. That's not a nice thing, but hey, I feel it. So I'm going to accept it and even say it today, I'm jealous of my sister. And then go, but I love her. She's great and she deserves everything she's got. And then it magically does actually go away. It's when you try and suppress it and push it down with food or drugs or shopping or anything. You see, you can't Netflix your feelings or cake your feelings or beer your feelings. They're going to come back. But when you feel them and go, well, this feeling's trying to tell me something and I can accept it, I'm allowed to feel stuff. I'm allowed to feel really angry with someone I love. I still love them. So feel your feelings and then aware, accept, articulate. Imagine your boss is being really mean and you go, oh, my boss is being horrible today. I'm aware of it. I'm going to shut myself in the toilet and turn on the taps and go, my boss is being really mean and unkind. And then it will actually go away. Some people say, oh, how can you articulate it at work? Well, you can do it under your breath. But that triple A is amazing. And I remember my little girl one day saying, I hate grandma. I said, she goes, I hate her. I said, well, I thought you loved her. She goes, no, I hate her. And I didn't say, how dare you? That's my mother. Don't you dare. I said, well, tell me why you hate her. She goes, well, I gave her a bite of my cookie. She ate the whole thing. I said, oh, that's very upsetting when you give someone something and they take it. I said, she probably didn't realize. She goes, well, I don't like her. I said, that's okay. I understand that hurt your feelings. Then later she said, Mummy, I do like her, but I'm not giving her a bite of my cookie again. I said, that's okay, because you see how easy it is to go, you're a bad person. You said that terrible thing, rather than go, hey, what's going on here? You're a great kid. You love your grandmother. So with children, when they hit their sister or kick the dog, you guys, rather than saying you're a bad guy, hey, what's going on here? You're a good kid. You love your sister. Why did you? They go, well, she did that. And then you understand. You know, my daughter, I took her lambing and she pushed my nephew off a haystack. And I said, why did you do this? Because I don't like him. I said, no, you know, that's not like you, because you said he was your favorite. I said he was my favorite nephew. You're my favorite. You're my favorite. He's my favorite nephew. And, you know, we don't push people off haystacks, so that's not okay. But I'd always, with her, try and punish that, you know, that what you did was bad. What you did was not right. I never say you're bad, because that's what you do. You're so bad. So you did a bad thing. You did a mean thing. You did an unkind thing. You're a good kid who did an unkind thing. You're a smart kid who did a dumb thing. It's different to you're bad.
I'd love for you to, I like the example about the boss, but I'd love for you to speak to, for example, spouses.
Yeah.
How do you reframe it when you have a spouse?
Yeah. Well,
a partner.
Yeah. And
who, is giving you a moment, or, you know, let's ask the question this way. How is it about gratitude? Is it about, you know, what kind of tools do we need to really
So when my husband
it?
annoys me, which he does, and I annoy him, I always imagine my life without him, which is so much worse than my life with him. So, you know, we marry someone, and here's the thing, I'm a flawed person. I've married a flawed person, and now we're going to have a flawed relationship. I call it being flawsome. We're flawed people, and the best you can ever be is a flawed relationship with a flawed person. And I know that the unhappiest people I've ever met in my entire long career are people who try to be perfect. They are the unhappiest and the loneliest too, because it's not possible to be perfect. So I'm sure my husband and I irritate each other. I was driving one day and I was trying to talk to him and he was totally ignoring me. And now we tell ourselves my husband's ignoring me. He's not interested in me. So we do this thing and I said, hey, I'm telling myself a story here that you're not interested in what I have to say. And he's like, oh, I'm telling myself so. I've just got a message from our accountant saying we're being hacked. And I'm telling myself my wife just won't shut up and I need to deal with this. As I told that story, somebody wrote in and said, oh, your husband must have been having an affair because, by the way, banks don't email you, text you to say you're being hacked. But in fact, it was the accountants. Now we've got 3 stories. My story is he's not interested. His story is, oh, my God, I wish you'd be quiet. This is important. And someone else who said, oh, he's obviously having an affair because he's made that all up because banks don't text you. But it was the accountant. So we tell ourselves the story, you know, my husband's forgotten my birthday. He doesn't love me. My kid is so ungrateful for all the things I've done. You know, I said to my daughter once, Phaedra, you know, the way you speak is so rich. Because, Mum, all my friends speak like that. It's not rude. It's just how we speak. Like we'll say things like, oh, you're so lame or you're hysterical. And I think, wow, my daughter said I'm hysterical. That's rude. My story is, her story is, Mum, we all talk like that. It doesn't even mean anything. So in a relationship with a husband, a wife, a partner, a child, just say, what am I telling myself here? You know, I remember years ago, my daughter, it's clear she'd forgotten my birthday. It was the next day, and I thought I could go, right, I'm going to wait, and I'm going to say to her, oh, you're so ungrateful. All the birthdays, and you've forgotten mine. But I thought, you know, I could do that. Or I could say, hey, it's my birthday tomorrow. She went, no. I said, yes. What shall we do? And we had a great day because I was able to think, well, that's a silly story. You know, she's just forgotten. So when we do, you know, they're always late. They never like my mom. They're so, tell yourself a better story. My partner loves me. But they happen to leave tea bags all over. You know, my husband is very messy, but messy people don't see mess. They don't literally go, let me upset you. He is oblivious to mess, and I could argue it's just easier to clean it up. So it really comes back to tell yourself a better lie. They don't love me. They've forgotten me. They're late to pick me up because they don't care about me. It's always better to go back and say, well, you know, they're late. You know, you have to. You know, everything is a reframe. Just reframe it, or your partner will annoy you and you'll annoy them.
Is it 2 different parts to this? I feel like there are 2 different parts to this, though. You know, there's us being self-aware and recognizing where the stories that we tell ourselves come from. You know, that they've forgotten me. It's rooted in a feeling of abandonment or whatever it is when we're young. But also on the other side, is it also us becoming better listeners to our partners, to our boss, to our co-workers, to our children? Because if we had a better conversation with them, if we listened more, we'd realize it's actually not about us and it's a lot more about them. And then we could, you know, tell ourselves better stories.
And, you know, there's 2 things there. One is listen to yourself first. How am I reacting to my boss who's being very difficult and very rude? How am I reacting to him? How am I reacting to this stewardess on the plane, this flight attendant who's being really rude? Am I taking it personally? Or am I saying, well, they're obviously just having a bad day, so how am I reacting? And the other thing is, you know, don't make someone else's story. My mother, you know, someone said to me, my mother said, don't trust men. They all leave you. One of my clients said his father, when he was little, said, stand on the table, jump, I'm going to catch you. And as he jumped, he walked away and said, that's the lesson. Never trust anyone. And that was a lesson for that kid. So now he's made his father's story his story.
As an adult.
Yeah. And I see that a lot of people say, oh yeah, you know, people are bad, or people like us are never going to be successful, or people like this. No, this is someone else's story. Just because your mother said, well, you were a mistake, or you're not smart, or one of my clients said, her mother said, I'd rather have 10 boys than 1 girl. And to her all the time. And so that was her story. Girls are worthless. It's like, no, that's your mother's story. Your story is entirely different. So don't make someone else's story your story, even if you hear it all the time. I should have had a boy, or I should have had a girl, or I thought, you'd be a scientist like your dad, and I'm so disappointed that you're a DJ. And listen to your own dialogue first. It's easier to be kind to other people when you can notice, what are you telling yourself when your kids just spilt juice on the carpet. They're so ungrateful, but really they're just not thinking.
It's so interesting. I'm thinking of again, thinking of what happened with me, somebody that I was very close to, that mattered so much in my life. It felt like I could never make them happy. Mm-hmm. Whenever we would have an interaction, there would be a fight, and I just kept thinking, what am I doing wrong? What is wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? And then I had a conversation with my brother after years and years, and I said, what am I doing wrong? He goes, Sally, it's not you. They have their issues that they have to deal with. It actually has nothing to do with you. And that was just such an epiphany.
Yeah, it's not
because,
you.
It's that realization that it's not your responsibility to make someone else happy. They have to do that for themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that is just, I think I knew that. I would hear that for years, but it's one thing to know that intellectually. It's a whole other thing to embody it and to know it in your core. And to act in that way, and to think, well, actually to realize this person has their own issues. I cannot make them happy, and nor is it my responsibility to do that.
Yeah, that's the flawed person. We're all flawed. We all have issues. We all come from parents that we think should have a degree in raising us, but many of our parents are growing up right next to us, and we think, well, that's not fair, and I should have had a better life. And that can be true, but it's never too late for you to go, well, I'll give myself the better life. I'll think of what I should have heard. I was working with this kid recently, such an angry kid, and he didn't have a dad. And I said, darling, I'd love to give you a great dad, but I can give you the next best thing. What would a great dad say to you? And he went, I don't know, because he's 17, whatever. And I said, no, I know that you know because you're smart. What would a great dad say? And he went, he'd say that he was proud of me. I said, exactly. What else? Would he say that I was a great kid? And then suddenly he got into it, and we began to feed back. You're a great kid. Any dad would be proud of you. You're an amazing person. And that kid went from really being in a very bad place to being very, very successful. He's got a great partner. He's got a great career, because he realized, oh, I didn't have a great dad. But if I had, what would he have said? And can I now say the word? You see, if I put lotion on my skin now, it would sink in, wouldn't it? And it would nourish dry skin. But words sink in and can nourish a dry soul. So we have to always think, if I put some lotion on here, it doesn't matter if it's from Prada or I got it free on an airplane, it's still going to nourish me. But words can be very nourishing. You just got to think of, what am I not hearing here? My boss isn't going to say I'm great at my job, but I can say I'm great, I'm doing a great job. And we just, responsibility means an ability to respond. If you're you're able to respond to your need to hear these words and do it yourself. It sounds so simple, because it is, but the simple things are often the most powerful. We can all think, hey, what do I really want to hear? I want to hear my partner say, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. Well, I can say that. I want my kid to say, I'm lucky to have a mum like you. Well, I can say, I want my boss to say, you are indispensable to this company. Well, you can say it, because the mind doesn't know, and it doesn't care where these words come from. They go in. So, bit of DIY, do it yourself. It's more powerful, actually, because if I said to you, hey, Sally, you're so great, could you lend me $100? I've now totally manipulated you. So we know that. But when we say to ourselves, hey, you're so great, there's no manipulation, there's no agenda, we're just saying it, and it will go in.
It's just a nourishment, form of self-nourishment and nourishing the mind. Yeah. I don't think we realize how powerful the mind is.
So powerful.
What is the kind of the most incredible example you've seen of how powerful the mind can be?
I think, again, with illness, most doctors will tell you, and it's true, that 70% of people turning up in the A&E or the doctors have real illnesses caused by disease thinking. We have migraines and stomach upsets and irritable bowel and skin conditions caused by diseased thinking, which is very good news because you know what? Easier to fix a diseased thought than a diseased organ. So having people flip and say, I'm doing wellness, my body is doing wellness. You know, I can imagine my skin being perfect. I can imagine that I don't need to have this particular issue. So seeing people, especially I've seen a lot of people with infertility, flip that and go on to have children. That's probably been one of the most wonderful things, seeing people who thought they'd never have a child.
This is actually something that happened to you, right?
Oh,
this
yeah,
is how you got into hypnotherapy.
Yeah, I was told I could never have children. Ever. I was told you can never get pregnant. If you could get pregnant, you never carry a baby to form. And if you did do that, the baby would have something wrong with it. So when I had my perfect baby, I thought then, wow, so important not to let this in. And so, yeah, I've worked with many people with, you see, unexplained infertility. What is that? It's unexplained. Explained is, well, you haven't got any eggs. Your fallopian tube's blocked, but unexplained means everything's working. We can't explain it. Your fallopian tubes are clear. You've got great eggs. Your partner's sperm is great. We can't explain it because it's something up here. And what's up here is what you say. Oh, you imagine being 16 thinking you're pregnant. Oh my God, that's the end of the world. My dad will kill me. Oh, this is terrible. And then you find out you're not, and you think, oh, I'm not pregnant. Yay. So the mind now is very clear. When you experience pain, it's going to search for what causes pain, and then it's going to decide. So if I ate oysters and were violently sick, you'll find I can't eat them again for the rest of my life. I look at them and think, oh no, I feel sick just looking at it, because the brain, when you experience pain, says no more pain for you. So when you get dumped, you think, oh no, I'd rather be alone for the rest of my life than go through that. You don't mean it. You've forgotten you even said it, but the brain, the subconscious mind, is always switched on. It's always on record. It remembers. What, did you say that when you were 17? You'd rather die than let anyone love you. You spoke in class and your teacher laughed at you and you said, I'll never speak up again. And here we are 40 years later acting off old stuff. Because when you have a scared person, it's an imprint. An imprint goes in. Oh my God, I was in a plane and I can't fly again. Or, you know, I spoke up and someone laughed at me. Now I can't speak in public again. I ate that thing and I was sick and now I can't even look at it. So once the brain links pain to something, it goes back. And so often you try to diet and you think, oh, this is so hard and boring and it's painful, but the KFC is pleasure. So the mind, if what's pain is pleasure, your mind isn't. Your mind is like a missile. Has pain, and that's pleasure. I'm going to move away from pain. Like undercooked food is pain. I don't eat that. But if pain and pleasure are the same thing, I love KFC, but it makes me fat. I want love, but you know, what if I get dumped? I want money, but you never know who your friends are. Now your mind can't move you away from pain towards pleasure because they're the same. So if you say to an anorexic, what do you think? I love food. I never eat it, but I read cookery books all day long. So you've got to be very careful about looking, what is pain? I want success. What are you thinking? Oh, I don't want to work all those hours, and I wouldn't be a good parent if I had success. So once you can be clear about what is pain. So no vegan says, oh, it's so painful not eating meat. It's terrible, you know, every day I have to fight not to eat beef. They go, oh no, I could never eat a dead animal. I couldn't eat a living, sentient being. And no vegan finds it hard to be a vegan because they're very clear. Eating animals is pain and not as pleasure. So go back to your mind and wire it differently. That's pleasure and that's pain. Lying around in bed all day and not getting on with stuff is pain. But being motivated, like the Olympic athletes, they don't go, oh, I've got to practice. They go, I'm going to get a gold medal. And they link pain. And you can choose what pain and pleasure is.
Is hypnotherapy for everyone? Does it work for everyone?
It does. It's amazing.
Because I have once visited a hypnotherapist and I don't think it worked.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you know, every career, you'll see a teacher who's not good. maybe even a doctor who's not good. And there are hypnotherapists who are not good.
I felt myself falling asleep, and that was about it.
Some are not good. It's sad. It's like saying, I went to that restaurant, the food was bad. All restaurants are terrible.
What is the experience meant to be like? What is the difference? I mean, for me, I was just falling asleep. She was asking me about stuff in my past that I think I'd completely blocked out, and I couldn't even remember, couldn't answer the questions. She was like trying to get me to revisit things.
Well, hypnosis doesn't send you to sleep. It wakes you up to your incredible untapped potential. So when you go to a hypnotist, they're going to do three things: find the pattern, understand the pattern, change the pattern. So say you went in and said, you know, I self-sabotage. Let's find that pattern. When did you? Well, my dad always said, you know, don't come home with terrible grades, and don't do that. And now I realize that I created this self. I was so scared of getting bad results that I created. So now I've understood it. And you can do that in conventional therapy, but the magic is now we're going to change it. You know, I had a girl who had terrible OCD. I mean, it ruined her life. And she tried everything, and we found the pattern, which was the chaotic life she lived as a kid. The mother had multiple babies, multiple partners. It was absolutely crazy. And now we understand the pattern. If every cushion is just so, if every thought, I feel, oh, I have control out there because I can't control in here. And now we're going to change it. It doesn't matter about the cushions. It matters about you. Control in here. Forget about the cushions and the forks and the spoons. So find the pattern. That's very easy because the mind goes backwards. You can say, take me back to when this began. It will do it immediately. But a lot of people say, you know, I know why I drink. I still drink, because finding the pattern is, you must understand the pattern. Oh, this happened when you were 7. Any kid of 7 would have done this. This makes sense. But now we're going to renegotiate with the brain. We're going to completely get rid of that pattern. You know, for me, I realized something. When I was a kid, when I was a young adult, I was always late for everything. You gave me 10 hours to do something, I'd be late. And it was so awful. It upset my fiance, who was a bane, but I could never be on time. So I went back and found the pattern. And the pattern was a young girl who often missed the bus to school, and I'd walk home. I'd walk home like that. And my father would get the car out and drive me furious. Didn't even speak to me. But I realized that I didn't feel important to my dad. And by missing the bus, I got alone time. I thought, well, he must love me. He never says walk on. I never missed the bus coming back, by the way. I only missed the bus going because my father couldn't drive me. Then understand the pattern. Oh, this was to get noticed. You know, when you walk in a room late, everyone who looks at you, it's a horrible attention, but the mind doesn't go, let me give you good attention. Any attention will do. So I found it. And now I'm going to change using hypnosis. I love being on time. I actually love being early. When I was late, I hated to be early. I thought it was a waste of time. I began to say, I love to be early. It's so calm, it's respectful. And I stopped being late like that. It just ended completely.
Is that, can you kind of say that, just say that to yourself? Is there a good, best time to say these kind of things, like before bed?
You find the pattern first, and in finding the pattern, you go, oh yes, when I was 8 and I needed my father's love. The mind isn't logical, it's a feeling mind. You know, logic, in a battle between emotion and logic loses feeling. The feeling was, logic is, I'll miss the bus. The feeling is, I need my dad to notice me. So the unconscious mind said, I know, let's miss the bus. Now he's going to notice you.
It's the power of words, isn't it?
Power of
being
words.
Really specific about what it is that you want.
Yeah. So now I've found it. Now I've understood. I said, well, that little girl, she didn't know any other way. That makes sense. But it doesn't make sense now. My dad loves me, adores me. I love him. And now we're changing the pattern using language, and you're using it in hypnosis. In hypnosis, something magical happens. The critical factor that screens all of your thoughts shuts down, and you can hear stuff like, I prefer berries to cake. I love speaking in public that you couldn't accept consciously. And secondly, the mind starts to send different messages to the body. You love to be on time. You always leave on time. You find it relaxing. It makes you feel happy. It's like telling someone who loves cake, you're indifferent to cake. They actually, in the mind, people say to me, it's so bizarre. I came to see you. I gave up sugar. Somebody bought me a cappuccino. I had to send it back because it had a bit of cocoa. I thought, oh no, I can't have that. So the mind in hypnosis accepts messages it wouldn't accept out of it, and it sends different messages to the body and interprets the ones coming back differently too. It's quite magical because it just doesn't happen out of hypnosis. I hypnotized someone to give a talk, and he literally said, I got up and I went and I hypnotized lots of footballers to play better football. It's amazing what you can tell the mind, because the mind is so phenomenal. We know it can do incredible things. We've heard of someone whose child was trapped under a fridge and they lifted the whole fridge up. How did they do it? Because they saw it. And in that instance, they did it. So we can do amazing things when our mind is amazing. And the problem is when you have a brilliant mind, you just got to do one thing: talk yourself into good stuff. Don't talk yourself out of it. We're so busy talking ourselves out of it. What if that goes wrong? What if it doesn't work? Talk yourself into it. What if it goes right? What if it's amazing?
It's like, that famous saying, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right on both accounts.
Of course.
So, it's really true. That conversation that you have with yourself is the most important that you'll ever have. One of the things that people may not know is that you actually worked with Jane Fonda.
I did,
as an aerobics instructor.
I did, yeah.
This would have been what, late 80s, early 90s?
Yeah, 80s.
80s.
And that's how I got into hypnosis, because I noticed working for Jane, because of course I wanted to be a child psychologist. I'd done some studying. I had that brain that was very interested in human behavior. And I noticed how many girls were anorexic, bulimic, and had body dysmorphia, and we're trying to fix it with aerobics. And it's like, oh, this is an emotional problem. You can't fix it with logic. You've got to fix it with a different emotion. That's why I found hypnosis, because I realized I could work with all these women in Jane Fonda's workout studio who are trying to fix an emotional problem with logic. It's like if you were an alcoholic and you said, now come on, you don't need wine, have a cup of tea. They'd look at you like you were utterly mad.
Because it's fulfilling a need.
Yeah, because an emotional need to drink can't be fixed with logic. Like, well, how about a nice cappuccino? They go, no, I need to drink. It relaxes me. It gives me confidence. So now you've got to go to the emotional and have a better emotion. How about in hypnosis? One of my clients, who was a terrible alcoholic, went back and remembered a very key scene. He never saw his dad. The day he was 18, the dad turned up, took him to the pub with all his friends, said, this is my son, and they drank, and then the father died. And he remembered, oh, alcohol bonds you. You're important when you drink. You're connected when you. So he's now got these, they're not fleeting thoughts, they're fixed beliefs. I bond with men through drinking. So now that belief is so strong that you can't get rid of that unless you go back, find it, understand it. And now in hypnosis, you can totally wipe it out. That's why hypnosis is great. You can erase and wipe out beliefs that were fixed, that were hurting people.
But the language needs to be exciting. It needs to be something that is going to inspire you to change.
You have to use very exciting words that make a picture, that are relevant, that say, that was fine at 18, but here you are at 36 with children of your own. You would never say to children, hey, let's have a beer to bond, because over the cartoons. You wouldn't say that because you don't believe it. When you question a belief, you don't really believe it. So you've got to question it. Where did this come from? Who told me that? Was it true? Is it true for me? And then you can let go of old beliefs and put in new ones and makes your life amazing.
Is it better or worse now?
I don't know. There's more gyms, more diets, more understanding of food than ever before, and more unhealthy, overweight people than ever before. So there's that logical stuff. Here's a diet, here's a gym, here's an eating. One of my clients said, I had my food delivered and I ate the whole thing. I'd eaten the whole week's food by 1 o'clock. Because we can't keep using logic to heal emotions. Emotion will always defeat logic, always, always, always. So we have to use better emotions. So while we've got the gyms and the health clubs and the food deliveries, we've got to teach people to love the only body, the most mind-boggling thing they'll ever own, and to reconnect with them. Go, I could eat donuts, but I love my body enough to have blueberries instead. When you come at it from love, it's easy and it's powerful and it's emotional.
As, say, the leader of an organization, right? Knowing everything that you know, What would you advise somebody who's leading a group of people? How would you deal with them to make sure to get the best out of them, to really harness the power of storytelling, to really bring out the best in their team?
Yeah, natural leaders are interesting because a natural leader will tell you they're good, but they also notice how everyone else in their team is good. For instance, I have a girl called Rosie who does our writing, and she's much better than me. And I said to her, oh, Rosie's a better writer than me. So if you're a leader, you should really, I see this a lot with Jamie Oliver. He's really good at recognizing what, and he'll say, no, they're good. This person's good. So you have to really bring out your team and notice what they're good at. And also in a business, if you make someone feel they're part of a team and doing something amazing, they'll never leave you. In a business, in a career, we need to have connection, significance, certainty, diversity. We need to feel we're growing, contributing, and making a difference. If you can make your team think you're making a difference, you're doing something amazing. Often my husband is very clever. He'll give our team printouts of people who wrote in and went, oh my God, I watched that video and everything has changed. You see what we're all in this together. We're all contributing, growing, making a difference, helping people. So it's really making your team feel that they are indispensable.
And so, coming to the end of an amazing conversation, what would you say for those who have watched this and listened to this and want to break through certain behaviors that they've really struggled with? What is the first step to transformation?
The first step is saying you're enough. You're not your behavior. Good people do silly things. Kind people do mean things. You are not your behavior. You can say, I was snappy today, I was mean today. So separate who you are from your behavior and keep saying, I'm a good person, I matter, I'm enough. Again, it's so simple, but if you woke up every day and said, I'm enough, I'm lovable, I matter, I'm significant, I've got something to offer the world, everything in your office would change. Bullying would disappear. It would just change so dramatically because you can't change your staff. You've got to change you. You're a good person. A good person has bad days and mean days and cranky days, but you're still a good person.
It's such an important thing that we actually have to start with ourselves.
Always start with ourselves.
Because sometimes you do like a leadership training and whatever, and you think, it's about changing the team. Actually, it's about everybody taking, like you said, responsibility.
Yeah, and success, 80% of your success is in here. It's not out there. It's that when you can go through life with that belief, I'm enough, I'm lovable, I matter, I am significant. When you can really wire that and fire that and code that in itself will change your entire life.
Because otherwise we go about life thinking, I need to change my partner, I need to buy a new car, I need to
change
feel
my
better,
wardrobe, my body, my
and
face,
to be enough.
my hair.
Yeah.
The only thing you need to change is one thing. You're enough and you're worthy.
So powerful.
Because if you think you're not worthy and you get love, you'll reject it. We know that 70% of people with wealth, especially lottery winners, reject it all. Isn't that amazing that you can win the lottery and you have a 70% chance of rejecting the whole lot and being dead broke within 3 years? That must come back to one thing. If I don't think I'm worth this money, I've got to get rid of it.
I don't deserve it.
If I don't think I'm worth love, people say, can you reject love? Oh, yes, people reject love all the time because they think they're not worth it, reject success. You've got someone like Robert Downey Jr., and I know now he's doing great, but he rejected a lot of success because it comes down to one thing. I don't think I'm worth this, let me get rid of it. So if you flip that to I am worth it and I deserve it, and just spend some time saying every day I'm worthy of, fill in the blanks, I'm deserving of, I promise you, just because it's simple, it doesn't mean it isn't powerful beyond belief.
And that's where, that's how you combat the self-sabotage in the conversation. I'm
worthy and I deserve it. I'm lovable. I'm enough. Over and over and over again. And do it with your children too. That's so important.
So that they don't have to reparent themselves when they get older.
Exactly, yes.
And that they can fulfill their potential.
Of course.
Marisa, I want to ask you, what is your power play? How do you step into your power when you need to?
Well, you know, we're actually putting RTT into the entire school system in the Gulf, and that's just the most wonderful thing to realize that, you know, obviously every therapist should want to put themselves out of business by making sure the next generation don't need therapy. So my vision's always been to get this into school, and I think that is my power, that we've actually created a program, presented to schools, they love it, and that's an amazing thing to think of all the children. You know, I was sitting in bed one day and we just got an award, and I was trying to think, how many children even is that? And I thought, well, we're in 2,000 schools now, and I couldn't even come up with the numbers, but it felt really lovely and very powerful to think, wow, a skill I have is helping all these kids feel good about themselves.
I've always thought it's so wild that
Yeah.
we go to school, it's all about education, and yet there is one thing which is literally the most important thing, and it's how to use your mind.
Yeah.
It's the basis of all education.
Yeah, how to use your brain, exactly, how to be the CEO of your mind. They should teach that in schools. I've always said that, but finally we're actually doing it, which is a wonderful thing.
It's incredible. We're going to be seeing it here in Dubai.
Yeah, I'll send you the video of what we've done so far. It's amazing.
Just briefly, can you describe a little bit, you know, what you're doing with schools?
So one of the most powerful things is the children they draw a cheerleader, they believe it lives in their head, and the cheerleader believes in them. And they'll say things like, oh, I mean, it's so real to them. He believes in me. He tells me I can do that. She says I'm good. And so this cheerleader is all about building emotional resilience. Again, how to cheer yourself, believe in yourself. And we do lots of things. We do this thing where we have a piece of toast and we put on the toast delicious olive oil and watch it sink in. And then we put on the same piece of toast deodorant and toothpaste and chemicals. And we say, you see, the toast is your brain. Whatever you present, it's going to sink in. The toast can't reject the olive oil, but it also can't reject the hairspray or the eye drops or the chemicals that we're now putting on it. And they love that. Wow, my brain is a piece of toast. Toast can't reject butter. And so we're giving them very simple things. We do one thing, which I love, is we took some money and I literally ironed one $10 bill and it was perfect. Then we took another one and we put Coca-Cola on it and coffee and mayonnaise and ripped it and stamped on it and jumped on it and called it names. And then we've got the $2 bills and so which one is worth more? The answer is of course the same, but one little girl said, no, that one's worth more because it's had a life. It's been around the block, it's more interesting. And I thought, isn't that true? I was teaching them that if you would go to the store with the filthy money or the perfect money, you still get the same value. But she said, no, that one's more interesting. I'm interested in its life. And I thought that's so true. Perfect people are not interesting. So we do a lot of little games. It's not education, it's teaching a kid. Just because you've been around the block and a bit beaten up around the edges, you're still worth as much as someone shiny and perfect.
I love that. It's such a great example of, again, reframing and
how
kids can do that.
We do them with a bow and an arrow, you know, with older kids, and we get them to fire the arrow and go, you know, you're the arrow, look how far you've gone. But nobody cares about the bow. The bow is your childhood. We don't care. When nobody says, where's the bow? They go, where's the arrow? Look how far it's gone. So we use a lot of props. We have a shiny diamond, literally a huge diamond. That bit's not real, of course. And we make all the kids stick stickers on it, stick post-it notes saying, I'm stupid, I don't know how to talk to people, I'm no good at math. And we go, look, see what you've done? You've hidden your shine with all these words. Now we're going to slowly take it off what we're going to say. But I'm not stupid. I'm smart. I understand something. I like myself. And so this hiding your brilliance is very good for them.
It's absolutely incredible. It is the most important conversation we'll ever have, the one that we have with ourselves. And Marisa, I want to thank you so much because your work is so powerful. It's so simple, but again, so powerful and for everyone to really become aware of where all of these things are coming from for us. So I want to thank you so much for this. Really incredible. Thank you.
Well, thank you too. It's been amazing and I'm honored that you invited me. Thank you.